algorithmically generated content on social media contributes to and profits from young men's growing social isolation, boredom, and ignorance, with the deepest pocketed firms on the planet trying to convince young men that they can have a reasonable facsimile of life on a screen. Many grow up without acquiring the skills to build social capital or create wealth. The statistics are insane. Like 45% of men 18 to 25 have never approached a woman in person.
Never asked a woman out in person. And what they're up against, think about it. You could largely describe America right now as a giant bet on AI. 10 companies have driven all the growth in GDP, are responsible for 77% of the earnings growth. Our economy literally rests on 10 companies now, often referred to as the Magnificent 10. And they do several things, but quite frankly, they're in the business of enragement, polarization, and suppressing young people from all other activities.
And when he says Magnificent 10, it used to be Magnificent 7. Now we got NVIDIA and a lot of other companies that's inside of that. And so basically what he's communicating is that social media is basically messed everything up, and they have a vested interest in making sure that everybody stays focused on what's happening in the algorithm instead of being focused on solutions based and trying to help society. It's profits driven. It's not about you, it's about them. That's basically what he's saying.
Only getting worse given where AI is going. I mean, with like agents and chatbots who are sexually clad anime type figures chatting with young men.
Well, it starts pretty innocent. When you use AI, have you noticed the prompts that are almost irresistible at the end? Let me put this in a series of tweets. Right. Before you know it, you're 3 hours deep. But effectively, these companies have attached the entire economy and literally trillions of dollars to trying to get people to, or trying to convince young people, specifically young men who are more susceptible, because quite frankly, their prefrontal cortices isn't as developed, to try and convince them they can have a reasonable facsimile of life online. Why go through the hierarchy of trying to make friends? It's not easy, right? Why try to figure out how to navigate a corporate, all this, when you can go on Reddit or Discord and find friends, or you can trade crypto or stocks on Robinhood or Coinbase? And why, Anderson, would you go through the rejection, the dressing well, the effort, the expense, the humiliation, developing a kindness practice?
So basically, he's saying it's better to have real life social capital than what it is that we continue to see online. And you have to get outside and touch grass.
Trying to establish a romantic partnership when you have literally lifelike synthetic porn. So what are we doing? I think we have our economy is attached to one objective, and that is to evolve a new species of asocial, asexual males. Unintentionally, we have an economic interest right now, I would argue, in planning our own extinction.
So what do you do? I mean, because this juggernaut is not about to slow down anytime soon, the AI juggernaut.
I think there's a variety of things you can do. Starting very young, I think you need to redshirt boys.
You have boys. I have two boys. It's terrifying when you look at these stats.
I think a couple things. Education. We need to redshirt young boys. They're just less mature. And you're going to see as you get older, my 15-year-old has a party. The boys are dopes. Some of the 15-year-old girls could be the junior senator from Pennsylvania.
I see that in 4-year-olds.
So red shirts, start kids in kindergarten at 6. Get more men involved in K through 12, where 70 to 80% are women who are naturally going to champion people who remind them of themselves. Boys need more male role models. Immediately have a social zeitgeist where the moment a boy comes off the tracks, which is typically when he loses a male role model, at that point, he is more likely to be incarcerated than graduate from college. Whereas girls in single parent homes have the same outcomes. It ends up that boys, while being physically stronger, are emotionally and neurologically much weaker.
And yet also, I mean, at age 3 and 4, I see it already, girls have the vocabulary, or at least the desire, to talk about what they did in school, whereas boys, it's like pulling out teeth.
Because what's happening is we have been socially engineering, in addition to social media, we have socially engineered the whole idea that we need to spend more time, more resources championing women, chasing the vote of women, and also celebrating the idea of single motherhood and single parent households, which obviously is not conducive to our society, because as society goes, as men goes, as society goes, any society that is successful or great, it is fostered by men. And I don't care what these women continue to tell you when it comes to decentering men. Men are, that's the way that God made it. The blueprint of what greatness is in society is going to be defined by how great your men are. So if you want your daughters to uh, continue to chase themselves while at the same time having children with the same guys that's just populating the earth and is not present in these children's lives, while throwing away the thing that we know is great for us, then continue to do what we've been doing while at the same time socially engineering the demise of our society by promoting this foolishness, continuing to place girls on a pedestal instead of championing the greatness that God has ordained man to be. That's just the truth. That's just the way it is.
The reality is our brain doesn't catch up until they're 25. Goes into college. Any school, any college, in my view, that has over $1 billion endowment and isn't growing its freshman class faster than population growth should lose its tax-free status, because it's not a public servant, it's a hedge fund with classes. And my industry is so corrupt that we've decided the ultimate way to create artificial scarcity and extract more margin from middle-class homes is to limit our supply. Dartmouth sits on $8 billion endowment, lets in 1,100 people, which is what a good Starbucks serves in a weekend. There's no reason why they couldn't let in 11,000, quite frankly. More vocational programming and, quite frankly, put more money in their pockets. We've had tax and fiscal policies for the last 40 years that have made my generation, on average, 72% wealthier than we were 40 years ago, and people under the age of 40, 24% less wealthy. So what do you have? 60% of 30-year-olds used to have one child in the house 40 years ago. Now it's 27%. So we have they're up against technology, trying to separate them from their friends, make them less mammalia. We have fiscal policies, quite frankly, making them less wealthy. And then we have social media reminding them 210 times a day that they're failing. And what do you know? They wake up at 30, they're more obese, anxious, and depressed. And if we don't, my generation has a debt. We'd recognize America from 1955 to 2000 garnered a third of the world's growth with 5% of the population. And then within that 5%, 30% of us who were born white heterosexual males got the majority of that prosperity. So there's a natural gag reflex when I start talking and advocating for young men. But the reality is, my advantage, my privilege, they should not have to pay the price for it. People in my generation have a debt when we need to get more emotionally involved in their lives. Men aren't stepping up. In this city, there are 3 times as many women applying to be big sisters as there are men applying to be big brothers. And then we have figured out, when I say we, my generation, how to vote ourselves more money. And we keep extracting more and more capital from young people to old. The prices of housing have gone absolutely crazy. The price of education has gone crazy because we've realized the way to get our houses more expensive is through a lack of permits, make it more difficult for people to get in college. And what do you know? The child tax credit gets stripped out of the infrastructure bill, but the $120 billion cost of living adjustment and Social Security flies right through. So they have less money, less opportunity. And we also have to acknowledge a basic reality. 75% of women say that economic viability is important in a mate. Only 25% of men state that. Beyonce.
And even though there are statistics that highlight that men make more money overall than women, I think it's skewed. I think it's skewed because the people at the top make exponentially more than everybody else. The people that I talked to a woman today, and I asked her, what did her friends do? And then she told me what her friends do. And then I said, well, what do their husbands do? Or what do the men do? And the first thing that she said was, they all make way more, or they all do. She said, they all do more. I said, does that mean that they make more? She said, yes. I said, all of them? She said, all of them. And so I'm starting to think, a little bit differently about things. But I think it's a conversation worth having, especially on after hours. Let me know what you guys think inside of the comments. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off of life. How do you see us solving for the crisis that is male loneliness, which then translate into females suffering because they can't find the mates that they need, which ultimately lends itself to the collapse of our economy and the way that we live our lives. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna holler at you guys later. Peace.